Yakuza is an unparalleled experience packaged as a video game. Scratch that, calling it a video game is extremely reductive. Yakuza is a life simulator, a virtual travel guide for Japan, an opera, fighter, RPG, brawler, crime drama, shonen anime, Japanese pop star simulator with some daddy daycare sprinkled into it. I can't even encapsulate everything that properly describes this expansive franchise, but let's be clear, Yakuza is extraordinary. This experimental approach to developing such a versatile game should not have worked. These games have no business being this good. Hi. If you like the content, please support the channel with a smooth like and subscribe. We got more gaming and anime content coming your way. Thank you. We live in a gaming world where style often compromises substance, leading developers to have to choose their emphasis while creating their games. While the Assassin's Creeds and Destiny 2s of the world have their own brand of enjoyment, many mechanics in these games are disconnected from one another. Rather than fulfilling a journey by compelling the player to complete side quests through narrative incentives or character beats, we oftentimes are left feeling empty in open world games because the completion of meaningless tasks distracted us from asking why we even exist in this world to begin with. Yakuza does not suffer from this issue. In fact, it flourishes in both the style and substance departments, finding a near-perfect method of marrying content with narrative. For example, in Yakuza 0, the narrative leads Kiryu, the main protagonist for nearly all the franchise, into investing in businesses across town. Once that arc is complete, the player never has to touch the business mechanics introduced in the main story again. Yet by continuing the real estate minigame, the player unravels a wealth of content that becomes addictive to the player. Before I knew it, I had blown 10 hours into that minigame alone, unlocking options to make excessive amounts of money, and even hiring a chicken to manage my turf. Sure, the incentive to make more money was the reason I wanted to continue playing the game. The real reason I stuck with the minigame though, was because the narrative string that I kept tugging led to more story content than I initially bargained for. Another example of this is in Yakuza 6, where Kiryu becomes a patron of a bar. The goal? Well, literally become the most popular dude there, which is absolutely hysterical. As a player, you are tasked with increasing the friendship level you have with the patrons there. You do so by buying them drinks and getting to know them and finally becoming a sage, giving them advice that aims to get their lives back on track. Yes, the core game is still thrashing people across town, but minigames like this truly show the heart of the Yakuza series. A series that is really about the relationship Kiryu makes throughout his life. Kiryu is no stranger to devastation. The path he walks is forever doomed by his association with the Yakuza. It becomes clear throughout the series that his ties with the Tojo clan are inescapable, despite his best efforts to do what's best for him and those he loves. The iconic dragon tattoo emblazoned across his back symbolizes his permanence in the Yakuza culture, as well as demonstrates his prominence amongst the ranks. Kamurocho, the fictitious city loosely based around the real-world Kabukicho located in Tokyo, Japan, is his primary stomping ground. This is where he earns his reputation and the legendary nickname, the Dragon of Dojima. All of this sounds cool as hell, right? Well, that's because it is. Kiryu earned his reputation from being absolutely monstrous in a brawl, a luxury we get to experience as the player controlling him. Yet, it's in the moments where we slow down and get to know Kiryu and the rest of the cast where we see the true value in this franchise. I became enamored with characters such as Haruka, Kiryu's adopted daughter, who we get to see grow throughout the story's narrative. Hanging around town with this colorful cast of characters, enjoying activities such as bowling and karaoke is where Yakuza truly shines. Speaking of karaoke, I don't think I did a good enough job describing how absolutely absurd this game gets. It's one of its more defining features. It's a meme machine for the gaming community. Yet, it is important to note that it does the absurd right. Some games relish in the farce, but ultimately suffer from an oversaturation of slapstick humor. I'm looking at you, Saints Row. Goofy moments in Yakuza remind you that video games are supposed to be fun, and it's not ashamed to go all out on the entertainment factor. But for a game driven by its narrative, an overabundance of humor can spoil the tone of serious beats often found in Yakuza's story. Yakuza knows when to put on a serious face, even if that serious face have you taking characters such as Michael Jackson's clone seriously. Games come and go, often being forgotten by the rigors of time. The massive pile of AAA games churned out by publishers allude to a creativity void in the industry. Beneath the surface, however, are absolute gems like Yakuza, games that deserve all the attention it gets. With Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon coming to the West, it's becoming clear that Western audiences are starting to become just as captivated with the franchise as their Eastern brethren. If you're in the market for an unforgettable experience that breaks from the cliche mold of modern open-world RPGs, I cannot recommend Yakuza enough. Lord knows you'll have enough content to last you a while, considering that each of the main games are packed with over 40 hours of content each. As for a recommendation where to start, the obvious choice is Yakuza 0. It not only sets the stage for the grand journey ahead, it's the tightest of the bunch narratively speaking. It's packed with content and arguably has the best story. It also happens to be my favorite, with Yakuza 5 being a close second. Years from now, when people look back on today's generation of gaming, many will declare Yakuza as ahead of its time. Well, in a perfect world it will. At the very least, it should be considered as one of the premier RPG titles in gaming. The 7th title reaches the West in November, releasing on the Xbox Series X as a launch title. It's also a series departure with its turns-based combat and new protagonist. In many ways, it's a tale of the first for the franchise, as we wave goodbye to Kiru's story and welcome in a new generation of gaming and protagonist. In many ways, we don't know what to expect with this new Yakuza game. What we can expect is the brilliant assembly of concepts that uniquely place it in its own genre, a tale of drama, intrigue, and most importantly, lifelong relationships. With that, I want to thank you for coming along with me in this journey. I leave you with my all-time favorite to send us off. Hit it, fighter!